Welcome back to another episode of Tell Me Sis podcast, featuring your two favorite sisters,
Alex
and Kyla.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a very special guest today, and we're so excited to have her here. It is Kyla's friend, Meg, all the way from Pittsburgh.
From Pittsburgh to Montreal. Thanks for flying here.
Thanks for having me. Oh my gosh,
We
so excited.
have so much to talk about. So I prepared a little intro, but honestly, guys, I already forget what it was.
So let me just give a little rundown
Okay.
of who Meg is. Meg is my friend. She is from Pittsburgh. You're a nurse practitioner. You are 29 years old.
Yep, correct.
Single, thriving.
So tan and beautiful.
So tanned and beautiful.
Oh my god, wow.
Look at those
Italian
eyes.
like us.
Wow, this you guys are hyping me up.
You
See,
give like
they're
Megan
brown.
Fox vibes from like
Bro.
the early 2000s.
Okay, everyone, like random people say that, and I
Yeah.
feel like it sounds like that girl on Love is Blind who, I don't know if you guys have watched that show. Where
She's like, everyone's telling me I look like.
she's like, I look like the girl in the Transformers movie, and the guy's like, Megan Fox.
Yeah.
And then it blew up all over the internet. And then,
people were like, she doesn't look like it, but like
I know.
she kind of did.
yeah, and she's pretty.
I know,
She's
she's
a very pretty
beautiful.
girl.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
That's
but like
the biggest compliment, actually.
yeah, but random people will say that to me.
But it's different when people say it to you versus
Yeah.
if you're gonna go and be like, oh, everyone thinks I look like Megan Fox, and you're using that in like a Love is Blind
Like
to,
environment?
to give an example of what you look like.
Yeah.
And so that person's obviously imagining Megan Fox. So
Because you
it's
don't
that
go
different.
around repeating that to anyone. Because there's been a few people that have told you look like Megan Fox.
I was out to dinner with like a couple of my friends, and like one of the workers at the restaurant came up to me and was like, do you ever get Megan Fox? And I'm like, no, I don't have blue eyes. I have brown eyes.
They look hazel.
They're very
Yeah,
hazel.
I
Like
don't know.
greenish brown.
Yeah, but they're just like, I think
Hold on,
it's
wait,
sometimes.
2 seconds.
Oh, sorry.
No,
It's
you can sit back. I'm gonna put it closer.
it's like the way I wear my makeup sometimes though too.
But it's
You
also
know?
just like your overall, like your face.
You
like
kinda
you do
look like her.
have a Megan Fox.
Yeah, you do.
You look like
Oh my
her
God.
without
That was the first thing I
makeup
thought.
too.
Wow.
I literally just met her. She's so cool. We've talked for 20 minutes, but I love her already.
I mean, this is like actually the second time that I'm only meeting Kyla in person, which is so funny because last night when we were out, because she picked me up from the airport yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like just hanging out with my friend.
Because we were talking about how it was when we met, which was, we'll get into that. I mean, we don't have to like dive too deep, but like the way we met was like really not
Traditional.
normal. And then last night I was like, I feel like that didn't even happen.
I'm going to say this right now, just to give a little bit of a backstory. They both dated the same guy at the same time. And I think the biggest reason as to why that happened was because it was distance. And
Yeah.
the only reason why we found out is because one of you girls who listens to the podcast is friends with her and recognized his username on her story and was like, what the fuck? I think that's what I know. I'm not involved, so I want to know.
I want
actually.
Meg, because the way I explained it in the last podcast too, I was kind of like jumping timelines and like it didn't really
So we should
make
do a deep
sense.
dive. Well, I'm going to ask you questions.
Yeah.
I do have questions about just you as a person.
Okay.
So you're 29 years old, you live in Pittsburgh, and you're a nurse practitioner. So my first question to you is, what is the difference between a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner?
So a registered nurse, there's different tiers of nursing because like you know, like there's like an LPN, which is like a licensed practicing nurse, and then there's a registered nurse.
Wait,
and
what's the difference in that? Oh, they're just tiers.
yeah, so the education is different, and I actually don't know how it is in Canada, but like in the States, an LPN goes to school for it's a year. And they can only do certain things, right?
Okay.
And then a registered nurse, there's either a 2-year program or a 4-year program, which is what I did.
Okay.
And there's also like a diploma program.
Okay.
And you can do that, and it's kind of like a fast track. But, you know, if you want to go on to a more advanced degree, like a nurse practitioner, a nurse anesthetist, a midwife, because there's so many different things you can do with nursing.
Wow.
It really is one of the best. I personally feel like it's one of the best career choices that you can make, like just to start out, because
There's
you can
so much to grow.
yeah, you can do anything. You can be one of my best friends is a lawyer, and you can actually be like a nurse paralegal, and she's
What?
like, you can go to court and you can read through medical cases, and you know,
That's cool.
yeah, you can do so much. You can be a forensic nurse.
I feel like nursing, like I would love to be a nurse, but I'm a germaphobe.
You don't even have to touch patients. You
But
can
in nursing school, you kind of don't. You have to do like
yeah. So in nursing school, you have to touch patients, obviously, and
Yeah, no.
and like
If
do
someone pukes, I'm
clinicals.
Yeah.
I mean, exposure therapy.
No.
You get used to it. You really do. I mean,
can't.
I was the type of person, so I never wanted to work in healthcare ever.
Okay. So go into nursing.
Never did. I was so grossed out by hospitals. I remember I would go in the hospital to see like a family member and I'd be like, the smell of this place.
I know.
I don't like this. And when I was 16, I was already diagnosed with this before, but I had scoliosis.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so when I was 16, I
You
had
scoliosis.
I do still have it.
Oh, okay.
I guess still in a way. So do you know what it is?
Is when your spine goes like this. You can get that fixed?
So I had to have major surgery when I was 16. I had back surgery and
Oh, my gosh.
yeah, so I have 2 rods in my back. And actually when we were at Pilates yesterday and we were doing certain movements that I actually couldn't do. And I was waiting for her to kind of try to correct my form. But I was just going to tell her I can't move that way. Like I literally have rods down my back that are so long. Like
Wait, was that a mandatory surgery because of something?
Yeah, so I went to like my, family pediatrician and he told my parents, he's like, you should really get this checked out. Like her spine is really crooked,
my
and
gosh.
I think that it can affect some people, like their breathing. Cause like even my body, like I have a rib that sticks out kind of differently. My shoulders are a little uneven.
Okay, yeah.
And I never noticed it when I was a kid, but
Can it affect your like growth, your height, like all of that?
So they want you to ideally get the surgery after you're done growing. So that's why they waited until I was 16. And I was from a small town, and
Yeah, because she's not actually from Pittsburgh.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, wait. I'm jumping ahead of myself then. So where are you from?
I'm from a small town. It's called Meadville.
Meadville?
Meadville.
Meadville.
Yeah, Meadville. And it's like Northwest PA. So it's above Pittsburgh, like hour and a half drive near Erie.
Okay, not far.
Yeah, so not far. But like Pittsburgh to me at the time was big city.
Yeah.
And I was like 16, and I'm supposed to have this major surgery. I remember I walked into the doctor's office and it was this spine surgeon and, they do these surgeries constantly. And he was so smart. I remember listening to him and not even understanding the words coming out of his mouth. And he like went on this whole tangent and he's like, big surgery, but no big deal. Like he was like big surgery, but no big deal.
When you started thinking, I want to be in healthcare.
So what happened was I had this surgery. I was in Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh and surgery went great.
Okay.
But after I was so anxious and I was like a kid. I remember it was around Christmas time.
Oh my God.
It was around Christmas time. They had like the Pens players coming to the hospital to like see the kids and stuff. And
Oh my gosh.
I remember being so anxious and like in the bathroom, like I was having like a panic attack almost after the surgery. And I don't know if it was the anesthesia, like if I had a really bad reaction or what. And the nurses came in and they were like, it's going to be okay. They're like, want to go on a walk? And I was like a 16-year-old girl. And
Nurses are seriously the best.
she like held my hand and walked with me like around the hallways. And like, it was like 2 a.m. And she was like, do you want me to braid your hair? And she was like braiding my hair.
cry.
I know. She was like braiding my hair for me. And I think that was the moment where I was like, when someone helps you and you're in a situation where
You're so vulnerable and scared.
Granted, I wasn't dying. I wasn't had some terrible,
but it's still like you had a
scary.
major surgery. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, getting a shot, kids are scared.
I remember when I had my eye procedure done and I started crying when they wheeled me in because the doctor has to be like very focused and he's like ready to fucking go. The doctor just like goes right at it. Like he's like the second you get rolled in, first of all, it's like this big white room. It's freezing and all I hear is beeping sounds like beep, beep. They put like this blanket thing over with like this tube of air blowing cold air in your face. And he like literally cranks my eye open, like just starts going to town. And I started crying. And the nurses, the second I started crying, nurses were like, oh my gosh, we love your nails. Where are they from? One of them is holding my hand. She's like, squeeze my hand as hard as you want. Like, and talking to me the whole time, trying to distract me. And it helped. It really worked.
it honestly like makes me emotional thinking about it because it's so, I remember that same feeling going in the operating room and leaving my parents, like wheeling away. And my parents were like, bye, like, good luck. We'll see you. And like, it's like a 6-hour long
I'm sorry,
surgery.
as a mom, if I think about that happen, like, no, I'm going.
I know.
Yeah, they were like, good luck. And I remember I got really flushed and the nurse anesthetist was looking at me and she was actually a student. And I remember her face to this day, like beautiful woman. And she was like looking at me and she was like, you're going to be okay. She was like, brushing my hair kind of, and they gave me laughing gas first, and I started laughing a lot, and she's like, oh my God, she's so cute. And like, that was the last thing I remember.
Oh, wow. Wait, that's kind of a nice memory.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. So like after I went through that experience and I was only 16, I was like, I knew I want to work in healthcare.
Yeah.
I know I want to help people.
Yeah,
because
because
that
it's like
feeling
that
that you had, you want to give that to other people.
It's such a, like when you're so vulnerable and you're in that position and someone that you don't even know, you know, like this is my big thing that I always say is the cool thing about my job is people walk into a room. They can sometimes have to get completely butt naked, totally exposed. And they tell me the worst things that are like going on in their life, the best things. Like, you know, I've heard people's like deepest, darkest secrets. Like, you know, people like I treat people who are alcoholics, drug addicts.
Yeah, because she's in nephrology.
I always tell my patients, like, I just want you to be honest with me. You know,
because you're trying to help them.
Yeah, I just want you to be honest with me. Like, or, you know, if you do drink alcohol, how much are you drinking a day? Like, there's zero judgment. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to admit that because either A, like they don't want to admit things to themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people are in denial about their own medical diagnosis. Like I have to tell them, you know, you're going to be on dialysis here soon. And so many people are just like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not going to, that's not going to happen to me. I don't have cancer. I don't have this.
Like, so when you go to dialysis, what does that mean?
So dialysis is the machine that we use to, it's honestly acts as an artificial kidney, right? So it cleans your blood. So your kidneys have two jobs. In like layman's terms, the two jobs are to make the pee and to clean the blood.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, you know, people come in and they're like, I'm not in kidney failure. I'm still peeing. What are you talking about? You're not going to know you're actually in kidney failure until you're in it. You're really in it and you need, you know, urgent dialysis. So dialysis is whenever like we take a machine, it pulls blood out of like an artery, runs it through the machine, through a filter, cleans the blood.
So it's not a blood transfusion.
No. It's not a transfusion. It cleans your own blood.
And it puts it back.
Yep, puts it back.
Whoa. I didn't even know that existed.
Me and Meg sometimes, because, I mean, we talk every day. We send voice notes to each other. And, you know, when she's on break, this isn't, like, funny, but at the same time, it kind of is. Because, like, I'll vent about my days sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
When I'm, like, really stressed out and I'm, like, going through something. And then, you know, she's there for me and she's giving me advice and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, like, how was your day? And she'll be like, oh, like I had a patient. She'll say like something like really like messed up that happened. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you're like, so anyways, yeah, getting back to like this, I think we need to go to like this restaurant tonight. And
I know.
Stuff.
Do you
it's
have
like
to
you have to,
disassociate in those moments?
I do. And I've actually had this conversation with other nurses. So prior to becoming a nurse practitioner, I was a bedside nurse. So I was a regular like RN.
Yeah.
And I worked in an ICU, so critical care.
Wow.
And emergency room. And I was 21.
That's stressful.
I was 21. And I remember working in an ICU when I was 21. And I worked in, it was primarily a women's hospital.
Oh.
So yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's, you know, we still saw men, but
okay.
So we would get these women who had endometrial cancer, breast cancer. And like, I don't want to make you like emotional. I know you have kids too, but like their little kids would be in the room and the mom would be on the bed and she'd be sick and dying and, you know, tube down their throat. And I have this conversation.
Oh my God. And you're witnessing all of that.
As a 21-year-old, and you're actually managing like life-saving medications, titrating drips that are keeping someone alive.
The stress. Are you in therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely in therapy. I really needed it at first when I became a nurse too.
Yeah.
Because it's not only that, you rotate shifts. Like I remember it'd be a Saturday night shift and I lived with my best friend at the time and she would be getting ready to like go out, have fun. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go stay up all night to make sure that I keep two people alive, you know? And
it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And I feel like nurses really don't get enough credit for what they do.
No, and
like,
I was going to say this too. So like to me, being a nurse is like one of the most selfless things you can do in life. I think, I mean, I obviously don't know the tiers of nursing, but I know I have a lot of friends that are just registered nurses. And here where we live, it's like you really don't make a lot of money. And for the amount of work that you're doing and the amount that you're getting paid and the amount that you do, it like doesn't correlate, doesn't make sense. And when I was during COVID delivering my son, and my husband wasn't allowed in the hospital because at the time there was like all these weird rules, so we switched hospitals last minute, but he still wasn't allowed in the room when I delivered, and I was alone and I was so scared. And
you also had a C-section.
Yeah, it was emergency C-section. I was still like able to be awake for it, but it was like so quick where they had to, you know, do everything. And I'm like scared because I've been in labor for 24 hours. And then like literally, first of all the nurses were in hazmat suits because COVID. And I felt like I was an alien exposed like in this operating room, but they were so nice. And then the care that I got afterwards from these women. And even just now when I delivered my daughter last summer, I think I was telling you about this story.
You were recently too.
This nurse, she came in and I had asked for some more painkillers because I had a C-section and I was like, it's kind of hurting. And she's looking at her chart. She's like, oh, I'm supposed to wait a little bit longer. She goes, well, you know what? It's getting close. It's fine. I'm like, it's close enough. Whatever. It's fine. And then she came into the room with me and she like sat down on the bed, was holding my hand and like rubbing me and just like she was being so nice. And it was like, you said 3 a.m. or something like that. And she's like, you have 2 daughters at home. And she was an older woman. And just like the care that I felt, because you're so vulnerable and exposed, scared and unsure. And you just have these people that are just so kind and all they want to do is help you. So you feel so comfortable. And it's like, everyone was so nice. I almost didn't want to leave. I'm like, you guys are so nice.
You're
and
like, can I stay?
They pumped me up. Girl, look at you walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
Like this one girl was like, yeah, get it. And it was like 2 a.m.
So
I'm like trying to do my walk. She's like, look at her, look at her.
I would love to be a nurse. It was always the germs that got me. Maybe I could.
No,
I don't
Kyla,
know.
this girl literally was putting a catheter in and out of me. Like she was dealing with my butt. I mean, if I threw
Like,
up,
you have
she'd be
to do
there
that?
to catch it.
I mean, yeah, it depends on, you know,
No, like in school too.
well, yeah, like in school, because you have to learn the skills, right?
No, then I can't do it.
You might be able to.
No.
Here's the thing. People
I'm
can.
not touching anyone's asshole.
Really?
I'm not doing it.
I've been up inside like a bed, like with a woman, like on the bed going, like trying to put a catheter in. And like, I'm so used to it. I don't know. I think that it really has shaped me though as a person.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it really has.
When I meet nurses, I'm like, you are a cool person. Like, I really like you. The fact that you went through that schooling to do what you do to help people is really cool. But my next question about the nurse practitioner is like the step above a nurse,
Like a registered nurse.
So you can prescribe medication.
Yeah. So a nurse practitioner, I looked it up because they do have them in Canada.
Oh, okay.
They have them in like certain countries. You know, I saw like UK.
New Zealand, Australia,
Yeah.
It's like Commonwealth.
Switzerland. Yeah.
So nurse practitioner, it's like I went back, got my master's.
Okay.
You sometimes can get a doctorate too. You can either do a master's or a doctorate.
Okay.
So for me, it was 2.5 years of additional schooling.
On top of the 4 years that you did.
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
And you have to do your clinical rotations, but it's different. So a nurse practitioner, you know, they do, medical doctors hearing this, some people don't want to hear this. They do act, you know, as a physician in some ways.
Okay.
Most ways, like even my team that I work with, you know, they're so grateful for all of us, nurse practitioners, physician assistants. Nurse practitioners, we assess people, diagnose them, prescribe,
So you can actually
treat.
do all-
Yeah, we do.
You're
We do
essentially like
everything.
a doctor.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, what's the difference between that and like my GP?
So your GP probably is a physician who went to medical school.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years of, you know, your undergraduate degree, 4 years of medical school, residency.
But that's in the States. In Canada, there's no, like, you could just get into med school. I'm pretty sure. You don't have to do an undergrad first. In the States, you have to do an undergrad first. I think.
All I know is that my GP like went to med school, did all that. He even actually worked in the States for a little bit. And then
Really?
came-
The thing is, if something, because my specialty is so complex. Nephrology is. So if you work in nephrology, you have to know cardiology, endocrinology,
Okay.
You know, hematology, oncology. You have to know all these other things because yes, it's just kidneys, but your kidneys control so much. Your kidneys have the hormone that produces red blood cells. People who are anemic, sometimes it's because of your kidney function, right?
Wow.
Your kidneys control
I'm
your blood
anemic.
pressure. You have iron deficiency. But yeah, your kidneys control your blood pressure. Your kidneys control so much, and it works hand in hand with your heart. So, there's weird autoimmune disorders that people have that affect their kidneys. Like we know, like everyone saw like Selena Gomez, like
Yes.
she had lupus,
Yeah.
like she
And
had
that
lupus.
affects the kidney?
Yeah, she had a kidney transplant.
Yeah.
She had lupus nephritis, like it's a glomerular disorder. And so these things are, I want my nephrologist next to me when I'm seeing something like that. I want my attending there. They've also trained me so much and so well because I was kind of thrown in as a new nurse practitioner, and they really kind of took me under their wing, and I got to see some really crazy cool shit.
Wow.
Are
Are you ever involved in surgeries?
No, I'm not. So that's the one thing about nephrology, actually, that I was telling someone recently, because I love procedures.
Oh.
I do. I was an ER nurse. I always loved procedures, doing things. And I always say I wish I could do like kidney biopsies and place like dialysis catheters. And
Is that something you could do with more studying?
Yeah, I could actually be trained, and some practices will train their nurse practitioners to do that. My practice, they don't do that anymore.
Okay.
They have other doctors that do this, like interventional radiologists.
Okay. But so you don't work in a hospital?
I do. So I work.
Okay.
I work in a hospital. I see patients.
Okay.
I have my office patients who are like chronic kidney disease patients. Like
She works for like a private
practice.
and they go to different hospitals as well.
I think it's really interesting that, first of all, that there's private, because again, we're from Canada. Everything is so different, right?
Everything
Like,
is
we
very
have
different
public-
here.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so Meg goes to all like the main hospitals in Pittsburgh. Like their nurses at this private practice. They
Oh.
go to so she has her hospital patients at all
Okay.
these different hospitals, and then she has her office patients, which is
At the practice.
At
that
the
you're-
practice.
Okay. So that you're kind of like moving
Yeah.
around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have like a team of people.
I have a pretty large practice that I work for. There's probably, I think, like 15 physicians, and we cover like most of the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
And then, there's a bunch of nurse practitioners and PAs.
Meg's being offered jobs in like different states right now.
Really? But also you have like a specialty.
I do. And my specialty is very small. So not a lot of people want to be a nephrologist.
Why?
Because it's really hard. I don't think the money pays like, you're not a surgeon.
Right.
Right. So, they still make good money, but people
You
just
make
aren't
good money,
interested.
but like for the work that you do and like
Yeah.
what it should be a lot more.
I mean, the
feel.
fact that you're basically a doctor, like I mean, you're not a doctor, but you're doing what my like GP does.
And I know my patients say that to me too, right? Like, I have a patient who had cancer. She had kidney cancer like, 10 plus years ago, had a kidney
Okay.
removed. Her urologist signed off on her. Randomly one day she started peeing blood, and then it went away. She talked to her GP. Her GP said, oh, probably a UTI, treated her with antibiotics,
Didn't look into it,
and no one looked into it. And
even though she had this past history of
so my first time meeting her, she tells me that I said any blood in the urine, and she's like, oh, yeah, actually a few months ago, but I think it was just a UTI. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just get an ultrasound.
yeah.
8-centimeter mass on her only kidney. No. And I called her. I was in the hospital rounding and was just like, I need to refer you to urology now. I had to like call her, get her in. We're going to have to remove your kidney. You're going to be on dialysis, like life changing.
Wait,
you
can you survive without any kidneys?
You have to be on dialysis then. Yeah, because you have no kidneys. So you have to go to dialysis 3 days a week, at least 3 days
For
a
the
week.
rest of your life.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
See,
you
I
can
didn't
always
know
do a
that.
transplant. You can always get a transplant, which is my hope for her. But you have to be cancer free, at least where I'm at, for I think it's 2 years until you can get, another kidney.
So she had cancer on her first kidney, and so instead of treating, they just removed.
They removed. If it's so big, and it's the way it's in, and my biggest fear for her was that it was spreading.
Did you know if it did?
I referred her to oncology.
Okay, so you don't know.
Yeah, I saw, I referred her to oncology because I saw some weird other things on the scans. But yeah, like this is it's my life.
You did a better job than her GP.
She was mad. She was so mad. And you know what's so funny is I know her GP, and I really like her GP as a person.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, her GP probably felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we're so overwhelmed, right? Like we see so many patients a day, so many sick people. You know, you're in the room with these people, and like I said, you know, they're telling you their life story, and they're so vulnerable, and you really do. I think at some points, like I do get compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
In a way, and then you have to like go home and like continue living your life with
Well,
everyone
I was
else.
like, are you in therapy? Because it's
Yeah.
like, I had a friend when we were younger. She went to school to be a respiratory therapist, but she was working at the ICU at one of the hospitals here. And she wasn't the anesthesiologist, but she was the, I don't know what the respiratory therapist does.
Oh yeah, respiratory therapists are amazing.
But
they're amazing.
She was working a lot. She worked a lot with children, and she said it was really hard for her to see, like, because a lot of patients don't make it.
Yeah.
Especially in the ICU. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things happen, and she's like, it's really hard to disassociate. And it's hard because she was like, not only are you having like a shitty boss, because like that could also happen, but then on top of it, you're dealing with multiple patients.
There's
maybe
also
people passing
like
away.
healthcare, like especially I find there's, especially with doctors, there's a lot of male doctors, and you're a really pretty nurse.
Oh, is that like a thing? Is it like Grey's Anatomy? Have you ever
They
watched
talk
that show?
down.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
They
I've
talk
watched that show.
down to you.
I mean, the one hospital, like I found, you hear these things, like people are having sex in the stairwells and stuff, and I'm just like,
is that for real?
you know, I've heard stories, I've heard things, and you and I, like, we've had our own experience with someone who's also in this field, and you know, we've heard, you know, I've heard at least things that like was going on there between him and other women, and to me, I can't imagine doing that.
No.
And I understand it's a high stress job, and everyone's like, everyone in healthcare cheats. Every doctor cheats on their wife or on their husband, and it's such a stressful field. I don't think that's a good enough excuse, though.
I don't think that's an
No, it's not.
excuse.
You went into this for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't make everyone else in your personal life and other life suffer because you did this for a reason. And that's why I think it's so important that when you go into this field, you go in with an intention. And my intention was like, I was that 16-year-old girl who was, you know, asking for help, having a nurse braid my hair, walking me around the hallways. You'll find people who went into this field for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, they go into it for like the status
Or the money.
Yeah.
Status, money. You know, I mean, I know, you know, someone who said, well, I figured why not be the best and just be a doctor? You know, why not just be the best and I'll be a surgeon too. You know, I'll be a surgeon. And that's like a mindset for some people. And and then they do shitty things. They treat people in a bad way. And you know, it
stresses me out.
Yeah, it's like,
because listen, like at the end of the day, everyone is a human. No one is a robot. No one can like just completely go into a job and do everything 100% perfect. I was gonna say, but like the difference between like making like a few mistakes or like maybe not doing something as best as you can or whatever versus choosing
Someone's
to be a
character.
shitty person.
Yeah.
And like to me it's, and I mean there's shitty people in every
Every
career,
field.
Yeah.
but it's just such a stigma
But
in the
I
medical
feel like
field.
in healthcare, though, at least when it comes to like anything sexual, it's like you're at a hospital. There's sick people. There's patients. Like it's so inappropriate.
Is it because everyone basically like lives at the hospital when you're
so people say that. I mean, like people, I've heard like residents say, you know, I'm just married to the hospital. I'm just married to it. Yeah, some people are. I mean, they've changed, I think, some of the hours for residency. I don't think they're doing like, at least from what I know, where I'm at, like 36-hour shifts and things like that. My old attendings would say that they would do these like crazy 36-hour shifts. And I know people do 24-hour shifts. And some
what if
nights
you're in surgery? Like you're a surgeon,
Yeah.
or you're helping and you're in surgery
don't
for like
understand
8
that.
hours and it started at like
Some surgeries are like 16 hours.
yeah.
what?
It's crazy. I don't know how that is something that I really genuinely
I don't know. Actually, I really wanted to ask this vascular surgeon that I know, because I remember one day he was telling me he's like, oh my God, I just operated for 10 hours straight. And I was like, did you wear a diaper? Like, did you put a catheter in yourself? I was thinking that. I'm like, when do you drink water? And he was like, I have such a bad headache. And I'm like, yeah. Did you eat?
Dehydrated. First of all, I do know I have a lot of followers that are nurses, especially during COVID, because a lot of them it was hard. I mean, what was that experience like for you during the pandemic?
So during COVID, it was like everyone got to stay home and
You didn't have to work?
No, I'm talking to everyone else in the world, was staying home, and I was going into work, and I picked up some shifts. At that time, I was working in an emergency room, and I'd pick up shifts in the ICU, and I would see the sick, dying people, even young people with COVID, and I was just so grateful that I wasn't full time in the ICU at that time, because I don't think that I could have. I'm trying to imagine. I remember a nurse that I worked with. She's so sweet. I actually saw her at Giant Eagle the other day, but she posted a story on Instagram, and it was a picture of a room, and on the wall they had a piece of paper, and it said the crying room. Aww. And it was just the patients with COVID who were so sick that it was so interesting. I mean, I shouldn't say interesting because it's terrible, but one minute they would be fine. They'd be breathing on a little bit of oxygen. Next minute they're intubated. Like they would just rapidly go downhill. And so you always had to be on your toes, and people were scared. Everyone was scared because it was the unknown, right? Everyone was scared. Doctors were scared. Nurses were scared. Respiratory therapists. Everyone was scared. I do remember, and this bothers me, but I remember there was a doctor that I worked with who she was like, I don't want to go in the COVID room because I have kids. In my mind, I was like implying, are you saying that people who don't have kids should go see the COVID patients because they're not as important? I don't know. Like, that's the way I kind of took it. And I that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit because I was like, we're
all human beings here.
Yeah, we're all scared.
I want to segue a little bit into the real juiciness of this whole situation. You have the cutest smile.
Really?
The dimples.
Like you have
the dimples.
such a cute smile.
That's so funny because that's one thing is I actually was telling my new dentist. Now I was like, I don't like my smile. Can you change it? I was like, can you give me Invisalign? And he was you really don't need it. And I was like, no, I think that I do.
No,
you know,
no, don't need it at all.
Oh my God, no. Stop. That's so nice.
I first of all, you guys dated the same guy. Okay? Let's just put it out there. So here's the thing. I love the fact that you're like both girls and you're friends. Growing up, a lot of the times, I feel like, especially in my friend groups, if two people like the same guy, it was almost like you would fight over it.
Well, I mean, the stories, it's so weird because I'm just gonna lay on the table how I found out about Kyla.
I would love to know about this.
So I was in a relationship with him. Okay. We were in like exclusive dating. I was not seeing other people or looking at other people or things like that, at least. And that's what was known like for less than a year.
Okay. But I mean, still a significant amount of time.
Yeah. And we knew each other for a while. Like we knew each other. We were friends before for years. We both yeah, we were friends. Like we met like at a party or something, and we both dated other people, but still kind of kept in contact and were like still friendly, and then became friends again, like, closer friends after we got out of relationships. And we had like kind of a rocky, weird situation, like kind of situationship, I'd say. And then
like at the beginning,
and then we were like, let's give this a go. Like, let's actually date. So I was on vacation and I was in Iceland with my sister.
I loved Iceland.
It was it was fun until like he kind of ruined my trip, honestly. Yeah. But
were you in contact with him?
Yeah, we were dating and like we were texting, and he's like, how's Iceland? We were having like our normal relationship. And I remember we were trying to go see the Northern Lights, and we were in like a blizzard.
Whoa.
I know. We were in like, it's the middle of nowhere in Iceland. And me and my sister are like bored in the car, and like this driver's like going like, 2 miles an hour, and it's taking us hours to get to the site. And I'm on board and I'm on TikTok, and I went to his TikTok page for some reason.
Oh, he has TikTok.
His TikTok.
Does he post?
No, he doesn't post.
Okay. It's just to...
we followed each other on TikTok.
Okay.
I just like looked at his page and I clicked on his following.
Yeah.
And I had like missed this. So apparently they had followed each other weeks prior to me seeing this. But I saw this girl, Kyla, you know, and I'm seeing she's like influencer, like hot girl model and blue star verified, and that he followed her and that she followed him back.
Oh, that's weird.
And I had never heard of her. Like, right? Like, so I knew this guy for years. Like I said, I never heard her name. So it's
not like, oh, they're friends from whatever.
Yeah. So when I asked him, he totally spun it on Kyla and was like, oh yeah, that's some girl like I used to talk to well before you and I ever dated. And he's like, it's not my fault. Like everyone wants me kind of.
He also said I followed him.
Yeah.
Which wasn't true. He was like spinning it like as if I was the one obsessed.
He didn't want to like
and
get caught.
I knew something was wrong. And so I was like, you know, I really feel weird about it because, you know, I know it's just a TikTok follow, but we've been dating. Like what's going on? Something I knew was going on. And so I confronted him about it when I was on my trip, and I was like, I finally just asked, I was like, are you talking to this girl? Like, what's going on? And he was like, well, we talked briefly a couple of weeks ago, and it was just, hey, what's up? I'm like, what is going on? So I said, can you show me the messages?
Yeah.
And he was like, I deleted the messages because I knew that you would be upset if you saw I was texting her. And then, yeah, I was just like, I'm not okay with this. And
it's like such a dead giveaway.
Yeah. Like we were basically breaking up while I was on that trip. But then we were like, let's talk when we get back. Like I'm in Europe right now.
Yeah, like it's not official yet.
Yeah. Like I'm in Europe right now. Like let's talk when we get back. And even then he was messaging me on the way back. Like, I miss you. Like, I can't wait to see you. And I was digging. I was trying to get to the bottom of what was going on.
Yeah.
And it was so much worse than what I ever expected, which I found out later, obviously. But we broke up. Yeah, he came back. I came back from Iceland. He came over. We talked.
You weren't like living together or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Thank God.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, oh my God. So, like,
me and Meg have had so many moments where we're like, could you imagine if we didn't speak and we both just like look at each other? We're like, oh my God. Like we saved each other.
She, honestly, I say that she saved me. Like she saved me.
So then he came back. He came over. You guys talked.
We talked.
Did he admit to anything?
No. He didn't even bring you up.
What?
What's crazy is he brought up, there was obviously another girl, obviously, because when there's one of my best friend always says, when there's one, there's five.
Yeah,
you know, like it's
That's
never.
what we said too. I was like, even just like us finding out about each other and then that one other girl, I was like, it doesn't stop there. There's plenty of others that we don't know about.
Wonderful.
And you know, he brought up like him and this other girl. They were coworkers. They are coworkers, and they had a relationship. Like a very inappropriate relationship.
When you guys were dating?
Prior.
Okay.
Very, very inappropriate relationship. And I was not comfortable with them really like talking a lot. I knew they had to work together. I knew that they had to, but like you know, she was apparently dating someone else and I was not comfortable with them. Like I just didn't trust it. And so when we were breaking up, he actually used that as a cop out. And he was like, I feel like I can't even talk to my own coworker. I really miss her. Like her and I were friends. Like there's so much between, I mean, one of my best friends said there's a lid to every pot. And that's the best quote because like they should have just been a thing. What I feel the worst about was that he dragged Kyla into all of this. He saw this like beautiful girl and that's like dark hair, dark,
I
like
guess he has a type
like tan, like, you know, he saw that and obviously liked you. And like, I'm sure he obviously liked you for other reasons too, you know?
So then if he didn't bring her up, so you guys broke up that day, but then how did you find out about Kyla?
Wait, could I just add one thing in?
Go ahead.
That was like his excuse for ending things.
Okay.
Left out the fact that he already had plane tickets to come stay with me in Montreal for 5 days.
Ew.
And he was telling me he was already single like a month before breaking up.
How do you sleep at night?
I know.
Like, how do you not feel bad? Unless he like believes his own delusion?
That's what we were saying. We were like, I think he like believes. He's like a misunderstood guy making mistakes, but it's like, no, this is like a character.
Also, like
you're a very
hurting people.
you have no integrity.
No.
But no remorse is what that was like the thing that I was saying. Like when the day we spoke and you were showing me the things he was saying, I was like, this guy doesn't even feel bad.
He feels bad for himself.
Yeah.
He feels bad for himself. And it's one of those things where I think that people can act a certain way and they change it in their mind where they're like, no, I didn't do that with bad intentions, or I didn't do this like this. Like, I'm a good person. You can say it so much, but rehtoric doesn't create reality.
No.
Yeah.
You found out about Kyla, but then he didn't bring her up. So then how did this end up happening?
So I really did not think that, like, I obviously didn't like that he followed you guys or you, and that you guys were talking and whatnot. And I knew that was wrong. And I found it on Instagram. Because Kyla posted him. And actually, I was telling Kyla, I deleted my Instagram because I feel like when I go through a breakup, I don't delete my actual account, but I was like, I need a social media break.
Yeah.
And it was St. Patrick's weekend. And in the States, it's like a big thing.
Here.
And so my friends saw that Kyla you had posted him on your couch. And
Wearing our sweater.
And you
Tomo.
tagged him.
Yeah.
You tagged him. And in my mind, like, I was obviously not happy, but it was the fact that he flew to Canada. He flew to a different country to do this. And my friends were like, kept seeing it. And I was saying that, like, two of my best friends, I guess apparently they messaged behind my back and they were like, should we tell her? Like, he's definitely in Canada. Should we tell her? And they did. They sent me like the photos.
One of her best friend had actually messaged me. She responded to the story and she basically told me, like, he was dating my friend like just a few days ago and I hadn't seen the DM. People DM all the time and whatnot. And I actually only saw it days after I saw another girl had also messaged me.
God.
Anyways,
Two of your friends
well, let's stick to the timeline though.
Yeah. So I was obviously upset and I sent him the screenshots and was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so this girl was a catalyst to us breaking up. Like, whereas like he really played it off like it was no big deal. And he was like, it's weird you're stalking her. I'm like, get a grip.
Yeah. Also, we're girls.
Like, I'm like,
it's always someone else's
You know what?
fault.
It's the same vibe as when you go through someone's phone and you find something wrong and then they're mad at you for going through their phone. It's like, well, no, you actually did something wrong.
I always say to Kyla, I wish I would have went through his phone, but I didn't. And I'm like,
I still stand by the fact that you like it's a good thing you didn't, because I think you would have seen some
messed up stuff.
Did you go through his phone?
Never.
I've actually never went through a guy's phone. I don't even have their passcode. Like, what are you supposed to do? And I'm also afraid that, like, I'd be the type of, like, I'm going through the phone, then like they'd walk in the room and I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
I know. I know.
I found out about this. I obviously said some nice things to him, and I was rightfully so. And
he was still like lying and trying to like downplay everything.
Yeah. What was his excuse for going to Canada then?
His whole thing was that he was
he playing
confused.
the whole, like, I'm single now?
He just needed an escape and stuff. Meanwhile, like telling me that
it was always a distraction.
Like bombing you.
Yeah.
The biggest word that he described Kyla to me was distraction.
Yeah.
Which is so disgusting. So I saw that and I had blocked him. I deleted him on everything. And he like messaged me again. He came through my Apple Watch. Cause like at the time, like, how sometimes like your laptop or your Apple Watch or something will get a message from someone you block. And he's like, I know you probably blocked me, but I miss you. I didn't respond. Like, I went about living my life and ended up seeing him out somewhere with another girl.
Right before I like invited me to Chicago as his +1 for a wedding. This was like days before, but yeah.
Saw him out and he was like trying to approach me. And what's so interesting is he brought up the situation to Kyla and was like, I saw Meg, like she knew like I was his ex and I saw Meg out and like she totally avoided me. And I don't need to talk to you. I'm standing here having fun with my friends. It was my best friend's birthday.
Yeah. Go away. Also, you hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to talk to you? Also, what did he think by saying that? Like, does it make him
My
more
therapist
good?
told me that like it's classic triangulation.
I don't even know what that means.
It's like when you're basically like creating this unspoken competition between two women. He would bring up women to Meg all the time, and then he would bring up Meg to me all the time, like unprompted. I wouldn't even ask, and it got to a point where I started questioning, like, is he using me? Like, is he not over her and stuff? And my therapist was basically like, he wanted you to feel wonderful. He wants you to chase after him.
He wanted everyone to feel that he was this cool, popular guy that had all of these girls chasing him.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to feel like
Meanwhile, he was manipulating everyone into staying into his life. I wanted to get the F out of there.
And that's what I say, like, you saved me, because when it's so funny, because whenever all this went down, and, you know, I don't know if, like, obviously whatever you want to say with, like, the reason why you left Pittsburgh.
He invited me to stay with him in Pittsburgh. He invited me as like his significant other to like the significant other dinner thing during like a residency event. And I was supposed to go to that when I was staying with him in Pittsburgh for 2 weeks. Like, but he was being like weird and different with me the month prior. And so the night before I flew out, I was like, is everything okay? Like, I don't really like want to come anymore, because I feel like it's almost like he just switched on me overnight.
I wonder why.
Me and Meg put 2 and 2 together. It's when he started
talking
to
to me again
behind my back.
He was blocked on my phone. He actually texted one of my best friends while I was on vacation in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like not a nice message that he texted her. And
He was like, tell Meg I would like to talk to her or something.
he was like, tell Meg I need to talk to her.
So demanding.
It was
Yeah.
very demanding. And I didn't want to bring her into it. I didn't want my friend to be into it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and like her boyfriend, like, obviously didn't like him either.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I don't want to bring her into it. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, I'm in Hawaii. Like, I'm 6 hours behind. Like, what's going on? And he was just kind of like, I think vague at first. And he was like, you've been like annoyingly on my mind, something like that. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, I know that you're dating someone else.
He was like posting me to like his stories and stuff.
Yeah,
in
he was
Chicago.
posting her.
Told me he was like in love with me numerous times.
Jeez.
And then days later, he's
He's
going back to
messaging
his
me.
ex-girl, because he framed Meg to me. He never badmouthed you horribly. He always framed it as like she was needy and they weren't a good match. And towards the end of the relationship, he was like super checked out and she was the one struggling to move on.
I think that I held on to him though for reasons like also too in the sense that I knew him for so long.
Well, he's
Yeah.
your friend.
We were friends and I had like been through like some shit before,
Yeah.
you know, like I had like a death of someone that was like I was once very close with. And I feel like when, you know, you kind of lean on people around that
Yeah.
time too.
Yeah.
And I did lean on him, you know, for that.
Yeah.
And he leaned on me in a different way, you know,
Yeah.
and so it was almost like letting
There's an
that part
attachment
go.
there for sure.
Well, also, like, it's really hard to move on from someone when you like them.
Yeah.
Like, it just in general.
But the thing is, when Kyla messaged me and she showed me everything, I was like, I was
Bye.
done.
Yeah.
Like I hit a point. The thing is with me is I hit a point where I can tolerate some disrespect from some people. But once I hit a limit, I'm like, I'm good on never talking to you again.
Yeah.
Oh, you will never hear from me again. And that's exactly what happened.
She told me numerous times, you are the best thing, the only good thing that came from this guy. And if it weren't for me, I don't even know like where I would be right now.
How far
Like,
gone I could have been.
Exactly.
It was to the point where I wasn't recognizing myself though, because, you know,
Because
not
it was emotional abuse.
Yeah.
Let's just be for real. This wasn't like your average case of a guy who's unavailable or confused or he's just being a player. It was emotional abuse in the sense where he could not let her go and he was like exploiting her trust, her loyalty, her empathy, and not being honest with her about what he was actually doing. And then he dragged me into it, wasn't being honest with me, and his actions were very damaging. Very, it lingers, you know?
Yeah.
And there was no accountability. Even when her and I spoke and she was going off on him, he was like, I don't even know why you're listening to this girl.
He literally, the way he referred to Kyla, whenever I was sending him screenshots of all of these messages that him and Kyla had while we were dating.
Wow.
Like, you know, like he was messaging Kyla while we were in an exclusive relationship. And like, actually, I thought we were doing well too at that time, you know,
my
happy.
God.
And he's like messaging Kyla, oh, I need to come to Montreal. I need to get a plane ticket.
Yeah.
Like, I feel icky.
It was-
Like, I'm so sorry.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And like, I feel like the way that I'm recovering from it is we say this, like, we're so over him. We don't ever talk about him. Like, this is like the most I feel like we've obviously like talked about
Yeah,
him.
well,
like,
I'm also curious.
Yeah, obviously. And
we really leaned on each other afterwards because there was no competition for us. Like,
No.
when her and I spoke, we were both like, this guy is actually like a predator, that is what it feels like. It's narcissistic to another degree. And we were both just talking about everything and like validating our experiences. And I told her because he always tried to make her feel crazy. And I was like, you're not fucking crazy at all.
when she messaged me And I told her like my side of the story. And every time that I had talked to him or seen him, like at least since our breakup, and I was like, I saw him out with another girl, like, just so you know. And she goes, oh, was it so-and-so? Because she was worried. Kyla was worried about a girl that I was worried about. Like, and it almost validated me.
Was it even that girl?
No.
Oh my God.
It's another one.
And she like validated me in that way where she was thinking, like saying, you know, you're not crazy.
No.
Yeah.
You were worried about these things, and
Your gut knew.
my gut did know. And it's like what I said to you even the other night, like, you know, it was never a competition between me and other women or, you know, us. It was him. I felt like competing with me, with you.
He was always trying to knock everyone down.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this guy looks like. Like, I'm picturing like a really, like,
He's a good-looking surgeon.
He's a objectively attractive
Yeah.
person, and he will be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so my other question
Yeah,
is,
it's so
and this
true.
is
Yeah.
no shade at all, because
Yeah.
I've had questions, like I'm curious about this in general when people cheat, but did you have any inclination other than that, like, follow?
I knew I was never worried about like Kyla because I didn't know she existed. It was this other coworker that he had because she was also an unfaithful person.
Okay.
And which was known, you know, and
Yeah.
and so I didn't trust them together, and he knew that. I never thought that he would go to the degree that he did to do what he did. Not to just be like shit talking, but, and this was like the question my therapist had for me was, why did you stay, Meg?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't nice to me. He wasn't nice to me. He was nice to me at the first couple of months. And, you know, there was times where I remember a moment where I was out with a couple of friends, and I was meeting a friend of a friend, and she goes, oh my God, she's like, you guys are such a cute couple. I love when two dark-haired people are together. Like, very, like, you guys are just a hot couple. And I remember she walked away, and he goes, she was talking about me. She wasn't talking about you.
What the fuck?
That is how I allowed my boyfriend to talk to me.
Well, it's just trying to make himself feel better.
Yeah,
and
and
put himself above.
he had to
Yeah.
like always let me know that he was above me. And I remember even
What
when
an odd thing to say.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. What the fuck?
and he could play it off like, oh, I was just kidding.
No.
When you say it so many times and
not
you tell
kidding.
me so many times how much better you are than me and how you know, like one of
You
his
don't even need to say it so many times.
Yeah.
One time, it's not a joke. It's not even funny.
Also,
It's
that's not a joke.
It's
not
not a joke.
funny.
It was constant. Like, you're right. No accountability. When I sent him the screenshots and the messages from Kyla, his response was, you guys are just two psychos. You guys are two psychos. You're just listening to this random girl. In the messages, he's literally saying, I love you.
Yeah.
To you.
No, and honestly, he just didn't think it would ever happen.
He didn't think it would
It was
happen.
like distance, so he was like, I'm safe.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I was.
He's gonna
I
be
was
shaking
so
in his
confused.
boots.
I was like, "What was the point of all this? I'm in a different country. If you're gonna do this, like, at least do it with someone you could see in
Oh,
person."
just don't do it.
And my therapist was like, "No, Kyla, the distance made it perfect because that means you and Meg would have never talked.
Thankfully for social media.
Thank God for your friends."
Well, I know. And that was the big thing because my friends were like, are you going to tell this girl? And when she messaged you and was like, you know, he just had a girlfriend. I was like, Alon, no, don't message her because I don't want it to be, I didn't know how you'd react. I don't know you, you know? And
Yeah.
and she was like, I'm just going to block her. Like, it won't be a big deal. Like, she won't ever see it. And eventually you saw it,
I did.
you know?
Because I had left. I flew to Pittsburgh to stay with him for 2 weeks. He ended up convincing me to go because I told him the night before I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And he was lying to me, saying he was just really stressed out with his busy residency schedule. And he thinks very logically or like logistically and rationally, which in my mind, I was like, no, because if that's the case, then we wouldn't even be in this situation right now. And he's like, but I'll work on my communication. I really want you to come, Kyla. And had no idea. He was literally texting Meg at this exact, like, simultaneously that moment.
Yeah.
I flew to Pittsburgh. We're making dinner. He makes like a few comments that were really, really mean. I see he has like a wedding invite on his fridge, and I'm looking at it and I see it's for that summer. And I never heard about this wedding. And he goes, oh yeah, I didn't get a +1 to that wedding because my friends all know I'm always going to be single. And I'm standing there and I'm like,
What the fuck?
You're like, I just flew here for you.
yeah.
I'm
And
staying
then-
here for 2 weeks for you.
Exactly. And then his phone lights up and I notice that I'm no longer his phone background. And that's when I knew. I'm like, he's hiding me from someone. And he asked me a few times if I was okay. And I kept saying it's for work. Because I just knew instinctively this guy is going to gaslight me if I tell him what's on my mind. I was like protecting myself. I was like, I don't feel safe enough to be honest.
I'm glad you left.
And an hour later, his phone lights up again. It's back to the photo of me. I left the next day. He was texting me daily after I left, guilt tripping me for leaving, denying. I straight up asked him, "Are you still talking to Meg? Are you talking to that coworker? What's going on?" He was denying.
She also knew about that coworker.
No, I only found out through Meg, but I had a gut.
She had a gut feeling. When she messaged me, she asked about her. She asked about this coworker.
And it's the same one.
And I was like, how do you know about this? And she was like, I have this feeling. I was kind of putting this together in my mind that there's something going on. And it validated me because I was like, you have to remember, I was basically being broken up with, saying that like the reason that, you know, I felt uncomfortable with him and this other woman, you know, was too much for him. And meanwhile, you felt the same way.
Just a cop out. Honestly.
But it's not just a cop out. It's also like he's almost blaming you. Even when everything went down after Meg and I spoke, he was like leaving her handwritten love letters at her apartment.
But does he now admit to it or does he still deny it?
So he wrote me, he showed up at my apartment one day, this is the oddest story, is I truly to this day believe that he stole my Chinese food because
oh my God, yes.
I ordered DoorDash and I get down there and it's not there and I'm running around and I'm calling the driver and I'm like, where is my food? And I was really hungover. I was out that weekend. I went to Cleveland and I'm where's my food? And I had to reorder it and I go back upstairs and my doorbell rings again and I'm like, oh, that's the DoorDash again. And I go downstairs and there's like flowers and a note and like, you know, a love letter and it's saying, you know, I messed up so bad and it's like, get out the violin, right? And still not taking accountability. Right.
What do you think if he said though, like, you know what, I fucked up and he came clean about everything and he's like, and I really want to make it up to you. Do you think you would have taken him back?
No. After what I saw from Kyla.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
I said I was already halfway out the door when I spoke with Kyla and she sent me everything and she showed me all the messages, all the things that were said. The door was closed, locked, bolted. I was never going back. And what's crazy is my friends were like, well, he wrote you that letter. He thought that there was a chance, you know, he thought that there was a chance of
well,
you.
that's his delusion of being like, oh, she so wants me so bad that like there's nothing I can do. And like, if I do this, she's going to just grovel at my feet.
I know. Even looking back now, I'm like, why did I want you? You know, I hate saying that.
The camera died. So we had to change the battery. And I don't remember what we were saying, like where we left off. You would never talk. You would never talk.
No. I would never go back. After what I saw, I mean, I was not only, you know, was I hurt, I was so angry.
Yeah.
I was so angry. The things that were said about me were truly disgusting. And like,
Did you hesitate showing her everything just because of that?
Yeah.
I hesitated bringing up something that he said because I was like, I understand that like, if I say this, it's going to have an effect on her. But at the same time, if I don't say something about this, then that kind of makes me complicit in his behavior. And I'm not okay with it.
You both just wanted it all laid out for you.
Yeah. And I'm so happy you said that because at one point my friends were like, do you think that like this is too much? Should you tell her to stop telling you things? And and I understand that part because it's like, okay, well, yeah, what's the point of hearing all of these things? But at the same time, I needed it because I knew.
You were scared you'd go back.
Oh my God, I would never. One of the last things that I ever said to him was what was a message that Kyla had sent me. And I said, what is your excuse for this? I would love to hear it. Yeah. And he blocked me because they're like, you know, it's the theory when people do you dirty, like they will avoid you.
100%.
You know, they'll avoid you. They won't respond and stuff. And because there is absolutely no excuse. I mean, there was no excuse for all of it, but the things that were said, there really was no excuse.
No, it was just a piece of shit.
There's no excuse. And he knew it.
It was so messed up. And to this day, it's really is a shame how it did affect me. You know, it did affect me, and I was like really insecure for a bit there. And I've obviously dated other guys since then, and like they validated me in a weird, you know, and I shouldn't need that, but like I've dated other guys since then, and I've actually told some guys the story, not the full story, but just like the things that were said, and they were like, what is going on? You know, they just made me feel better in a way. And there was no excuse. And if other women that he was with knew that he was saying that, they would, I think, run.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I don't even know what it is, but I'm just saying if it's disrespectful, then it's just like there's no one that would do something like that. You don't even have to say.
For context, I won't say exactly what it was, but he made a comment to Kyla that was very disrespectful and degrading regarding my body.
Wow.
And I didn't ask. We weren't even talking about her.
He made a comment that I was never, ever, ever insecure about. Like I never really thought about, and it was like kind of a joke, even like between me and my friends, like just women talk. We talk about our bodies and we talk about things, and he made a comment to Kyla in such a gross way. And I remember I actually was in Chicago recently with some girlfriends, and one of my best friends lives in Chicago, and I was telling her, like, her friends about this story, and the one girl got so heated sitting there. She was like, I'm ready to fight. Yeah. She heard the story. I told her what he said, and she was like, I'm ready to take this person down. You know, my best friend Alon always says, she's like, I never want to tell you what to do with your life unless something is really, I think, detrimental to you. And she was like, Megan, if you ever go back to this guy, it is detrimental. Yes. Yeah. Like, I would just be a shell of a person.
Well, I'm glad that this all panned out the way it did. Like, it's almost a blessing in disguise, but I do have to say it's really shitty that you did have to experience that, like the both of you, because that does create trust issues in the future.
Mm-hmm. It traumatized me. Like, I'm actually traumatized. Because he also said degrading things about me behind my back.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, I believe in karma, and
yeah, it is. It is hard to trust people, and like that's kind of what I was like saying to my therapist, and she's like, it's gonna take you a while. Yeah. You know, it's gonna take you a while because you know, I didn't know about any of this. I had an inkling about some things, obviously, but I didn't know how bad it really, really was. And it was,
I know when we spoke, because I had a feeling, I was like, for me, I was thinking like, I'm going to block him because you gaslit me. You wasted my money. You were manipulating me. He used my body, my emotions, my mind, like everything. And it was, for me, it was the gaslighting. Yeah. After I left. Only for me to find out that, so I was actually right the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even care at that point if he's like sleeping with Meg. For me, it was like, you gaslit me for catching on. And then you wouldn't let me go. Like, he didn't want me to move on. I haven't spoken
to him recently at all.
I blocked him that day when I saw like the message. And then 4 days later, because I had a feeling, because I knew what he was like, obviously said behind her back. And then I was like, wait a second. He said that about her. And then he's sleeping with her. And so I saw her friend Alon had messaged me, and that's when when I answered Alon, she answered me immediately and was like, Meg is one of my best friends. Like, you guys need to talk.
Wow, we love you, Alon.
Alon's a real one.
Yeah, she really
I'm like, shout out Alon. She's like one of my best friends over
He actually has her blocked on Instagram, no?
He blocked her. He even like started to imply that like another thing was, oh, your friends are crazy. Your friends are so
Your
crazy.
friends ruined our relationship.
Your friends ruined our relationship. Alon was one of the most supportive people, and
he couldn't possibly ruin the relationship by what he did.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing. Like, when you start blaming all of these other people, my big thing too is that I found out, and I don't know if this is your experience with people, you know how like you were saying that he made a comment, I just think so logically. Yeah. I find when people tend to like keep saying over and over like how they are, and I'm just a brutally honest person. The most brutal, end quote, brutally honest people are the biggest liars. I even had that experience recently. I had an experience with a guy who, you know, told me, he said that like, you know, I'm so honest. Honesty's the biggest thing and all of this. And then behind my back, he's doing all these other things and saying things to my own friend. And like, it's just when you have to express so often how much of a trait you have, like really
you're
don't
almost
have
trying to convince yourself because it's not true.
Like even the situation that happened recently with you, and then there was like because there was like two situations that kind of happened where these people were describing themselves a certain way, and then everything kind of came to light, and it's like, oh my god, everything you say you are is the exact opposite of what you are.
maybe what you want to be, but like,
But it's like, if you want to be
I
honest,
don't even
then be
think
honest.
they want to be that way. I think they want you to believe, or like other people to believe they are that way, while they do nothing to actually like prove it.
100%. And it's like I said before, rhetoric doesn't create reality. I know people think that it does. Yeah, but it doesn't. And I will say this about myself is I am in a way like I don't want to say, oh, I'm confrontational. I'm not afraid of, if I think something's wrong, about saying something about it.
Yeah.
And I find that whenever I say that, like people have a really difficult time ever taking accountability.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're non-confrontational and then they just like ghost, or they, make up something, or, and it's so interesting.
Did you meet her friends in real life when you went to go visit?
I met all of them.
Did you thank them?
Did I? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know if
I don't even think you need to.
Yeah, I said that too.
Like,
I mean, me and Meg both were like, thank God we have each other.
so thanks to Alon.
Oh, that was another thing when I was in Pittsburgh. He like tried driving a wedge between us.
He did. Kyla came and visited me, and he messaged Kyla and then showed up at my door again with another note and a gift. I was gonna say, if you're listening, please stop showing up at my apartment.
Yeah,
like I'm like, please stop. My parents, my parents never really get involved in like any of my personal life, and my mom actually told me, she's like, it is kind of making me uncomfortable that this person is showing up to your place.
The one silver lining to all of this was that we did a lot of self-reflection, because we do have to take accountability, where it's like we did overlook some serious red flags.
Okay.
That, what does it say about us to continue giving someone like this the benefit of the doubt?
Like
you know,
like you were saying that he treated you poorly. Yeah. He said mean things, and you kind of like let it go.
Yeah, and I let it go, and that was like my therapist's big question for me. Why did you stay, Meg? Why would you stay with someone who?
I mean, it's so easy to say that when you're not emotionally in it, because I know. I mean, it's
embarrassing though, right?
Yeah.
Like it's embarrassing. It makes me look like I have like low self-worth and whatnot, and that's something that I had to think about, because I was like, why did I stay in this? Really, is this as good as it's gonna get for me?
I also think you were like trauma bonded to him. Like you were very manipulated. Of course, like there's things that you learned about yourself after the fact. You didn't stay just because you had no backbone or no self-respect. Like there was trauma that was going on there. Like it is a known thing. It's not easy to break.
It's not easy to break, and that's why, like, I mean, if I didn't hear all the things that you had sent me and what had happened, then I'm not I don't know if I wouldn't be sitting here probably. Yeah. Some people say like, they're like, is it better not to know? And I was like, for me, it's really better to know. I really wanted the truth.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things you don't want to hear because it's like hurtful to the ego or whatever, but it's like, then you also know that that person's a loser. And it's not even true what they're saying.
To you at one point, like, if this gets to be too much, let me know and I'll stop. And you were like, no, I want to see.
I was like, no, tell me. Like, show me everything. I don't know. It gave me a reason to, I kind of like slapped myself, shook myself and was like, Meg, wake up. Like, really? Are you going to waste? And that was the thing my friends were saying. You're wasting your time. You're wasting. And, here I am saying I'm having a panic attack about turning 30. And in the meantime, I'm like, why did I waste years with someone who
doesn't deserve you?
That's my other thing that I always want to say is stop dating down.
Yeah.
Women need to stop dating down. Yeah. Stop dating down. Stop dating down because your friends are all in a relationship and what societal norms are. Stop dating down, because we said this earlier. If you date down, they'll pull you down to that level.
Yeah.
And they want to keep you there.
That's exactly it, because misery loves company. I'm the type of person where my partner, I want them to feel amazing. I want them to be happy. Then that just makes both of you happy, because if that's how they're feeling, then it's going to reflect how they treat me, And it's like, and it sounds selfish by like kind of saying that, where it's like, oh, it's still all about me. But you want your partner to be feeling confident and good and happy, because then if that's the case, then you're going to be in a happy relationship. Whereas people who want to bring others down, I never understood that, because then those people that you're trying to bring down are going to reflect that energy back at you.
It's a control thing, I think, too, is whenever you put someone down and you make them not feel good enough, you're like, oh, you're not good enough to be friends with me, or you're not good enough to be in a relationship with me or work with me or in any context in life, then it makes you subconsciously, you chase them, right? Because you're like, oh, okay, well,
I want to prove myself.
They hit a wound also sometimes in you, because we all have that. We all have that where we're a little bit, we all have our insecurities, you know, and
Yeah.
and like they hit that wound, and then they're like, your mind can actually make you be like, all right, well, if they actually are, they're better than me, then yeah, I'm gonna keep kind of chasing them. And
because I want to prove to myself and I
Yeah.
want to prove to them. No, actually, I'm a good person. I'm good enough. It's so true. You're
it's
right.
it's a
yeah.
bad cycle though, and that's a cycle that I've been trying to get out of, you know.
You will.
You will,
taking
because
time.
even like up until recently, I've like you cut things off early.
I know. And that's the thing is like every guy that I've talked to now, like I feel like when I see something that I don't like, and I will ask about it, or I'll be like, I'm not afraid of confrontation, like I said, but it's like, it's real strict around here now. Like, you have 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes.
You'll honestly, like, as time goes on, you'll start to learn, and especially as you start to gain more trust, it won't be as black and white.
I agree. And that's what my therapist was saying to me. She's like, you are cutting people off like left and right. I'm talking about like dating. She's like, are you ever going to like actually see something through, you know, and not just leave whenever you don't like something? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Cause now I'm afraid. I went from this like anxiously attached person now to like, I'm like, am I getting like avoidant now? And
No, I
just,
think you're becoming more secure,
you think?
because avoidance coming from one, we don't communicate. We just dip.
I know. See, I ask questions. I do.
No, but girlhood, honestly, like
Girlhood,
you
yes.
guys made friends. I know it's distance, but still, like it's so nice to. I love girls.
It's still so
Like,
fun. And like, I know Kyla, like I was saying last night, you know, I'm like, we're just like normal friends now. Like
I
it's,
love it.
she picked me up from the airport. I was so excited. You're like waving. We were saying last night, I was like, I don't feel like I ever had this like competitive feeling. I was like, I really just love being friends with you.
Yeah,
You know,
but we
it
also
was-
have a lot in common too.
we have a lot in common, and it's almost scary how much
know.
we have in common. And so when I remember when you messaged me, I was kind of like, I like this girl. And I was like, she's cool. And I was like, I can see why he liked her, you know? And I was like, I like her. She's
I
cool.
thought the same thing about you. And then
Yeah.
I remember we started like talking more afterwards, and I was like, wait, question, like I saw this picture that you have, like, because I was like kind of like creeping on you before.
Yeah.
What makeup did you get for like,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
we
my
were like
gosh.
started asking questions
Yeah.
about things.
I
Yeah.
know.
Wait, it's actually so nice. I'm
Yeah.
glad that something positive did come out of something
Yeah.
negative.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks that you guys had to go through that in general. I hope he learns from it.
Yeah.
And I hope he does better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you want Meg to be on again, if you love her, we would definitely love to have you as a guest. Maybe we can go to Pittsburgh next time.
Yeah.
You can come to Pittsburgh or wherever I end up.
Yeah.
You know, we never know.
You
So
never know.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, I love this. This is so fun. Thank
You know,
Yay, this was a success.
I
I'm
am so happy, and we love you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.